I hope you're able to hear me. And
We can hear you, David.
okay, perfect. So first of all, let me quickly mention our agenda for today's session. In here, so first 10 minutes, maybe we can spend, actually we already now 2 minutes behind. But first 10 minutes, it will be installation. I will be sending you some of the links. The installation is very easy. You just need to click next, 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 and then you will be able to complete this installation. There are two things actually you need to install in here. And I am assuming that everyone has a Visual Studio in their computer. But if you don't have a Visual Studio, so you need to install that one as well and set up in your computer. So the first thing I'm going to be using today in this session, JavaScript. You might need to download the Node.js for that. This is the first thing, and I will be sending you the link. If you're using Windows or Mac, and you can actually get these links from our chat, and I will try to share as much as possible from our chat. This is the first link that now I send it to you guys, and from the chat, Zoom chat, so you can get it and you can download the Node.js. So this one will help us to basically execute the JavaScript code. This is first thing. And the second thing is, so it will be our Visual Studio. If you don't have it, so just download Visual Studio code. Maybe I can send the link for that as well. Let's click download Visual Studio. I'm gonna be sending that one at the same time. Third thing is, actually, yeah, that's it. This is the two things that you need to install, so it will be fine. Third thing, once we create our project, so we are gonna be basically using our Playwright project, okay? In our Playwright project. So we just need to download at that time. So for that, considering that information, at the same time, while I'm talking about today's agenda, you can start downloading those things. If you don't have it, Visual Studio again and Node.js. And Node.js is for JavaScript that we are going to be executing our code. Visual Studio, we will be using the Visual Studio. Okay, and I used to use previously IntelliJ. I switched to Visual Studio because it has a lot of dependencies. So you can add extensions and etc. So you will be able to use it like easily. And that's why, so to be able to having the better performance, and I'm going to be using the Visual Studio. I recommend you to also switch because most of the developers are also using the Visual Studio, and you can have actually benefit about that as well. So after that, after this installation, the process, and we have 1 hour. So in 1 hour, I will try to cover for this get, post, put, patch. This is a patch request, patch, delete request. So we are going to be covering those requests, okay, as much as possible. I will try to finish within the 1 hour. You will see that actually the implementation is very simple in this Playwright. So it's very easy. You don't need to have any other dependencies for this automation script. So we are just going to be using the Playwright, and then that's it. So you don't need to, like we used to do in our Selenium for UI, and we used to have the UI, API, reports, and etc. So for different dependencies. But in here in Playwright, so everything is ready for report, for like parallel executions and setting up with the our instances. So you will be able to use all of them in here for this Playwright session, okay? And those are the requests: get, post, put, patch. Okay, so I had the typo in here, and delete requests. So we are going to be performing in 1 hour as much as possible. And rest of the 30 minutes, I think it will be the close to the real-time environment, because in a real-time environment, mostly we have a tokens, right, in our application. So first of all, to be able to send this API request, we need to get some tokens, and we need to pass this token into our request. Okay, because those will be some public APIs that we are going to be using without requiring any authentication. But in here, once we do this execution for the last 30 minutes, and it will be whole API workflow and flow basically, and we will have some token request, and we will pass this token request into our get request, post request, and whatever. So we will be having some end-to-end scenario for this. Okay, you will see actually once we create it, even let's say for how many requests we are going to be having in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also maybe some of them in here, 8 requests. So we will be able to finish hopefully within a 1.5 hour. So execution, it will take like less than 1 second maybe, okay, for all of them. And okay, so this is general today's agenda, and we are gonna be working. And let me open my Postman. I need to share this one as well with you at the same time. We have a 2 API. Okay, this is the one which is public API, JSON placeholder, and we are going to be working on this one for our get, post, put, patch, and delete requests. And those will be some of the basically URLs and API we are going to be sending for this R automation. And I think I exported that one. Let me upload that. So let's see. On my computer, documents, okay. So I'm sending you guys one of the JSON file. This JSON file, it is for this JSON placeholder API request, okay, this one. Please download it into your computer, and after you download, simply you just need to click this import button in your Postman. If you don't have it actually Postman, it is fine. You can just follow me and what I am doing. You can see from here. You don't need to spend a time for that. But after that, like for this Postman, so you can come to here and click the import button. Once you click that, you will see actually you need to pass this JSON folder, which I send it in our chat. So you can go to there and click the files and select your JSON. And once you select that one, it will open in here. Okay, so you will be able to see all the requests for this JSON. And I will be talking like generally in here, what kind of requests that we have and how can we send it? What is the details? What is the difference between all of them? I will try to explain you as much as possible. In between, guys, if you have any question, anything else, please let me know, and I will try to answer your questions as much as possible. Okay. And so once again, I want to repeat the first thing. I sent one link to download the Node.js. It will be for our JavaScript, or you can use TypeScript. It is also fine. Either one of them you can choose. So once you download this Node.js into your computer, and after that, we are going to be downloading the Visual Studio. If you have it, you don't need to download, okay, Visual Studio code, and we are going to be writing our code in there. And once we have it, actually these two of them, we will be just using this Node.js in our computer to be able to execute some of the Playwright commands, and it will help us to basically install and set up the Playwright into our computer. Okay, so once we have it, I sent another one, which is JSON placeholder. Okay, that JSON file. Please download that JSON file in your chat. Okay, download that one, go to your Postman, click this import button. Once you click that import button, click this files and select the files or folders. So you can select the file that I send it to you in chat. So then you will be able to see this request. Later on, maybe I can send it this one as well, booking API. This API has a lot of also the requests as well. As our whole flow, and we are going to be working for this booking API. Okay, I'm going to be export this one as well. Let me send it to you. Booking API collections. Okay. So for booking API collection, it will be for our last 30 minutes, and we will be basically starting that one. Okay, I think our first 10 minutes is already passed, and we can go ahead, and then I can also show you some of this request and how can we do that. Okay, so for our APIs. If you actually go to this Postman, the collection that I sent to you, the first one is a GET request. This one has a lot of actually different GET requests. You can see that get list of all users, specific user if you want to get it, to-do list, to-do by user, to-do by IDs, and etc. So there are actually many API requests in here. So we will be focusing some of them, maybe like the user in the beginning. If I open the first one, you can see we have a URL. A URL is coming from our environment variables, okay, which is set up in here. By default, you actually need to get that one. By default, you will be able to see that. If you hover over your mouse on top of that, you can see our base path in here, https://json placeholder.typecode.com, and this is our base URL. So it's basically this value will be replaced once we send this request, whatever the initial and this variables that we have, okay, current variables in our scope. So the rest of the things are basically endpoint in here. So we have a users. So if I click that one, I will be able to get all the users, okay? So first of all, we need to understand what kind of APIs we are working and what is our data type, what we get. And after that, we can do correct testing, right, for these APIs. Most of the people, since it is only with data, so you work, they don't like API testing. But from my side, since you don't have since execution is very fast most of the time, I like API testing more. Look at in here, I can see one array. Maybe if I can make it a little bit bigger. So as you see in here, we have one array, right? Array, it means that we are able to get multiple data in here. We have a list of users because this API, it returns us all the users. If I go there inside this one, I have a one user, let's say Lina Graham. I can see ID for that. It is one. This is my first API response for these users. And then the second one in here for Erwin Howell, I am able to get this Erwin Howell, okay? If I continue ID 3, ID 4, I don't know how many requests it has. It has a lot of actually. Let's take a look at in here. So in this here, we have a 10 response we are getting as a user. I can see all of them in here with the details. Let's take a look at actually what kind of details we have. Once I go to the first one, the second one actually, this is Erwin Howell. I can see my ID. I can see name, username, email address, street, geographical locations, latitude, and the other one, phone, website, company, and etc. Okay, this is all of them belongs to the one user. We can see my curly braces. It's starting from here. If you go down a little bit, and my curly braces is ending on this line, line 47, and in between all of them we have email, street. And all of them belongs to the Erwin Howell. And in here, we are able to get list of data. If I check it, okay, like get specific users in here, I can enter like whatever the ID for this Erwin Howell, it was 2, right? If I send this request, I'm able to get 200 status code in here. I have an ID for this. Returns only data. This time, let's take a look at in here. I have an array. I don't have an array, right? I have a curly braces. Curly braces in our programming languages, it is actually, once you convert it to either Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, it doesn't matter. So curly braces, it symbolizes the objects, okay? So we have one object in here. Inside this object, I have actually user object. I have the user data. It is stored inside this user object. I have ID, name, username, email, and etc. Okay, all this. This time, it returns me the data only for Erwin because I put in here as a 2, okay, for this specific user. Let's automate that, okay? Let's automate this. We can, like, how can we automate and how can we do these steps as much as possible? We can try. So first of all, if you take a look at this request, we have a base URL, we have an endpoint for that. And I don't have a body because this is the GET request. We don't need to provide. But I just need to check that, okay, do we have any parameters, authorization token, or headers? So we have one, actually, headers, but it is nothing. So pretty much I don't have anything. I just need to provide this URL. It will work. But I will also show you guys how you can provide this headers, authorization token if it is necessary, parameters, and etc. I will also try to do that. Now, in this step, I am assuming that you maybe created, you downloaded this Node.js and maybe the Visual Studio Code. In your desktop, I want you to, okay, in your desktop, I want you to create one folder. You can say new folder and just name this one as a rename. I can say rename Playwright API, okay? This is my folder that I created. It is in my desktop. You can create in anywhere. It doesn't matter if you have some project folders and etc. You can create it under that one as well. But it will be just only empty folder, nothing else. So you just need to create it in here in your desktop. In this case, like I created. So I have a name, Playwright API. The name, it can be anything else. It doesn't matter. Just for me to understand what I type and what I am implementing in my projects, I put Playwright API in here. Okay, so for this one, it's just empty. If you go inside that one, there is nothing for this. Okay, Playwright API. Now I need to open my Visual Studio. Okay, this Visual Studio. Once you open your Visual Studio, I can say this one. It's actually my Visual Studio is already open. Let's do this. Open folder. Okay, I'm gonna be saying it Playwright API desktop. And this is my project. Okay, fine. So let's do this. Maybe I can show it to you one more time. I can close it. Okay. So now this is I open, right? My Visual Studio Code. So on the left top, if you say file and open, okay, file and open. So it's in my case, it is in my desktop. I selected desktop. I selected my folder that I created in here. You can see I'm gonna be clicking open, okay? So it will open this project to me. You can see actually it is opened. I can close it. So this is the, as you see, one empty projects that we have in here, okay? One empty projects. So nothing, there is nothing inside this one. It's just only the name Playwright API is my project name. So as you see, there is no files, there is no classes, and nothing in here. So initial process, this is important because you will see that like setting up the new project, it is very easy in here. So you just need to click this terminal, okay, on top in your Visual Studio. We have a terminal. If you scroll your mouse to top, and then you can see terminal, and just say new terminal. Okay. Now, my terminal is opened. So you just need to see this actual text. It shows that where I am executing my terminal command now and in which folder. So you can see that, okay, David to run, MacBook Air for David to run. And this is, as you see, Playwright API is the folder that we opened. And I'm executing my command under this folder, okay? So this is important step that we are gonna be doing in here. Otherwise, if you implement it in somewhere else, it is fine if you create like other folder and etc. So your project will be created in there. But I created this folder and I'm gonna be now, I don't have any Playwright, right, in here. So to be able to install the Playwright, initialize in here your automation script, you just need to say npm, okay, init Playwright, okay, npm init Playwright. So after that, if you execute this command in the terminal, you just need to click enter. Now it will ask you to some couple of questions once you say this npm init Playwright, okay? So first of all, go to terminal on top from here. And once you open that terminal, just say that npm init Playwright. So if you are getting some error message in here, it means that you didn't download the Node.js, okay, in your computer. So npm init Playwright, getting started with end-to-end tests with Playwright, initializing the projects. Which one do you want to select? I'm going to be selecting JavaScript. You can, using your arrow down or up button, you can select which one you want to select in here. JavaScript. So where to put your end-to-end test? Okay, it can be under the test folder. So if I say this one, okay, if I click enter now, it will create one test folder inside my project, and it means that I will be putting my automation scripts inside that test folder. Okay, this is basically defines that step. So then it says, okay, do you want to add the GitHub Actions workflow? No, I don't want to now integrate with CI/CD pipeline. Okay, it will be false, and I just keep it as it is. Install Playwright browser can be done manually via npx Playwright install. So this is for actually UI testing. You can say no, or you can say yes, because again, like it is for UI testing. So you can use the browser that you have, like Chrome and etc. Or Playwright has itself a browser. Let's say I am the Mac user, or sorry, let's say I am the Windows user. If I am Windows user, I don't have a Safari in my computer, right? So you can basically, using this Playwright browser, you can easily execute the Safari, even if you don't have in your computer this Safari browser, okay? Because you are downloading the Playwright browser. It is out of topic. So I come to here, install Playwright browser can be done manually. Yes, I'm gonna be installing that one. It is fine. I just click enter. It's executing these commands. It's running now. Okay. You can see in the beginning, actually, whatever it is giving, it might be important, like later on if you need something, so you can see from here as well. So it says that inside that directory, so basically inside this directory now where I am located, I can execute this Playwright test. So it will be running our tests. So whatever basically test folders that you might have inside this test, okay, in here, it will be executing everything if you just execute this one. So you can have UI with UI mode, you can have with Chrome, example, debug mode, it might be code gen. So it basically generates the code for you as well, like easily. NPM, NPX, Playwright test, etc. Okay, so those are basically a starting point. You can do that, and we don't need now. You can see actually automatically on the left side, I can see node modules. Those are the basically some of the files, class, which Playwright is using in here. So we have a test folder, as I mentioned, since we selected in the beginning as a test. So I will be executing like our tests and putting all the test files inside this test folder. And test examples as well. Okay, this is just by default, it is created by the Java Playwright. If I go down now, I have a package log JSON, and you can see actually there are some of the configurations in here inside this. So we don't need to do anything else. package JSON, this package JSON, if you want to add additional dependency, let's say cucumber and etc., you can put under this package the JSON, so dependencies, so it is stored under this one. Config file, it is important. Today also we will be using this config file. You can see in the config file, by default, it should be 30 seconds for tests to fail. Yeah, actually 30 seconds for execution, 5 seconds for either assertions, I guess it should be, for the by default failure. If you want to run parallel, reporters, use. Okay, under the use, we have a base URL. So today, we are going to be using this base URL for our automation scripts. Okay, so to be able to execute, and we will be putting our base URL in here. And everywhere in my computer, I will be able to get the base URL from there. Okay, this config file, it will be under our Playwright config file. Projects, Chromium. Okay, those are the rest of the things is for UI testing. So we don't need. Good part in Playwright. So what is that? It's basically for API testing. You don't need to download any additional things. It's already coming with Playwright. You just need to write your code and implement it. So that's it. You don't need to do any other things in here. So once I come and I'm going to be saying under the test, I will be creating the one new folder. I can maybe say that get request, enter. And under this, the get request, I can say new file, okay, under the here. So for this one, let's say get or let's yes, actually it is fine. Just say that get.spec.js. Okay. So initially in here, you can say that JS. I think everyone understands what's JS symbolize. It is JavaScript. If you are using TypeScript, it will be TS for TypeScript. Spec actually it is for testing, but the important part for this one, like it actually separates test files between development files. Okay, so if someone sees that it is spec, they understand that it is a testing file. It's just only naming in here. So we are going to be using to separate once we see that, okay, this is for testing, we can understand. So far, do you have any question until this point?
Do we need to download Brew, or do we need to download Node.js with Brew installed? No.
Node.js Brew install. No, I think you don't need to download that Node.js Brew install. I think it should not be it shouldn't be required for that. So is it asking to you?
I was doing npm init Playwright, and it was asking for downloading the node, and I downloaded node with Brew install node, and then I did all of the steps, and I'm good.
Okay. Fine. Let's continue share screen. Okay. So initially in here, okay, for this request, so to be able to send it, we need to import some of the things inside this our JavaScript file. And that is required in the beginning. Good part, actually for UI testing, we have something called page fixtures. Okay, the page fixtures, it is already defined by JavaScript, sorry, Playwright. It's already defined by Playwright. We can easily get it in here, inside these classes, inside these files. And we can start using directly. If it is UI testing, we can just use the page. But if it is API testing, we are gonna be using the request as our page fixtures. That request will help us to execute our commands, like whatever the commands that we have, okay? Let's see, there are some questions. For not install on Mac, I am Windows, but I thought that I have seen you may need to use sudo for installation. Okay, it didn't ask me for Windows, but I have seen you may need to use the sudo. Okay, so first of all in here, initially, I'm gonna be saying that constant. So for constant, we are gonna be defining our test. Okay, so it will be our test, that the method that we are gonna be using in here. And also I will define the expect. Simply, if I define these two things, expect and test. So test, it will be, how can I give you an example? Like test annotation that we have either in JUnit or test.ng. So it will be same, like similar thing in here that we have. We can have a multiple test inside this file. And I need to use this test, okay? So this one is coming from the Playwright. That's why we are gonna be saying that require, okay, in the beginning. So I can put in here, Playwright test, okay? Test is our, like, annotation, test annotation in JUnit or test.ng, so that we used to use for our testing. But this is actually method in here. So we are basically calling the one method. It is coming from the Playwright itself. So in the beginning of your all the, either for UI testing, for API testing, you need to have this one. So you need to import the Playwright into your file, so which you can basically use those functionalities. Okay, this is the first thing that we are going to be having in here inside that one. Actually, that's it, only the required dependency that we have in here. And I'm gonna be saying that test, okay, this method. As you see, this method, it takes one title, so you can put anything else. And then after that, you are gonna be providing some body inside this. So title, let's do this at API testing with Playwright, okay? This is my first parameter that I'm gonna be providing in here. The second one, it will be our body, okay? Body that we are going to be executing. For body, we will be calling it this asynchronized function and methods. And then after that, I'm gonna be writing my code in here, okay? A synchronized function, we are just gonna be putting arrow, okay? So it will be calling this arrow functions in here. And it will be asynchronized, okay? I have a asynchronized and one function, so it's basically calling the one method in here. It is created and open and close the curly braces. As you see, everything, the code, it goes inside these curly braces for this testing, okay? It will be inside that one. So as I mentioned, so we are gonna be basically using in here our asynchronous function. And in UI testing, we have a page to be able to execute some request. And for here, API testing, we are having a request, okay? Request now will help us to execute our code for API testing. So there is some questions. Request expect test. No. So for this request, it is not required to import. You don't need to import that one, the request. Now, so actually whatever you see, those are the main steps that you will be having for get requests, for post requests, for like put requests, for all of them. So you will be required to have those things. Okay, it is initial setting up for your API testing. Then after that, yes.
The only thing we'll be changing is inside the async, right? The what will be changed if this one is for get? What about the patch, put, which side?
Everything will be the same. So everything will be the request.
Mhm.
But using this request, we will be calling some methods like you mentioned, get, post, put, request. So we are going to be calling them, and those will be changing. Okay, this is it is called in here, it is called a page fixtures in Playwright. Actually, it's also coming this terminology, general. And then so this page fixture, it is basically helping us to call some methods from the Playwright itself. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say constant response. So like my response basically will be stored in here. And we will be saying that await. If you're a Java user, guys, previously, if you use the Java, as you know, the Java code is executed top to bottom, left to right, right? It is executed that way. But in JavaScript, it's not guaranteed that it will be running from top to bottom. So to be able to achieve, actually, to be able to do and to be able to run the code from top to bottom, we are using this await and we are making it asynchronized. Okay. If you don't make it like asynchronous and in here, you cannot use await. So to be able to use this one and make our code to run step by step from top to bottom. So we are going to be using this await in here. Then rest of the implementations, we are going to be saying that request dot get. Okay. Oops. So for this get request, let's go to Postman and check one more time, okay, for this get request. And maybe I can explain quickly. So we have a one constant. So constant means it is not changing. And we have a response, and I'm storing the response from here that I'm going to be getting. And it will be stored inside the response. Obviously, we cannot use it directly like that. We will be just getting the response as a JSON. And then maybe after that, we can use this JSON to do some assertion. But simply in here, I have a get, because this is the get API. I will be calling this get request, and I can get my data after that in here. So then we will be doing some assertions using this expect. For this, okay, for the get, we are going to be providing some parameters for this, okay, for this one. The parameters for that, it will be like, first of all, I can provide my URL for these APIs, okay? And let's go to Postman. I'm gonna be executing maybe this one. Once I execute this is my URL. I can copy and paste to here and send it to you guys as well. Slash this. Copy. You can check the chat. This is the request that we need to be able to execute this command. If you want to execute, let's say you want to execute this one, right? You want to just make sure that it is working, or if there is no problem, and etc. So you want to see those things. So you can basically put this URL. And after that, I'm gonna be actually, I think we forget to put curly braces inside this request. Okay, I think it was not giving. Yeah, that's the reason it was not giving us some suggestions for us. So this request, it should be between the curly braces. So in the beginning, it might be like, looks like difficult, but however, it's very simple. So if you are familiar with the Playwright, it will be like easy to test it and understand. If you're not familiar, definitely it might be a little bit complex because we have some like different functionalities, asynchronous, wait, request, and etc. It might be unfamiliar to you. So I come to here, constant response, I send it. Actually, let's do one thing. Yeah. So for the get request, you can see like it takes some parameters, okay, for this get request. What's the parameter? URL. Actually, I provided the URL previously, right? And then I deleted to show you this one. The one thing is URL. Value for this, it is string. This is your first parameter. Comma, options. So you can have some options as well as a parameter in here. Okay. So what is the options? It can be data. Data, let's say, so yeah, it can be data, and then fail on the status code. You can fail on the status code. It takes a Boolean value, true or false. You can have some form if it is required as data in here. You can have a form data parameters. You can have a parameters you can put in here, okay, parameters. Headers, as you see, headers you can provide as a key and value format for this API as well. So pretty much like headers, parameters, and like let's say some other implementations in here. So you can provide all of them inside this method. How you understand? You just separate them with the comma. First one, it is URL. Second one, it's option. And some of them you just need to provide, okay, so what do you need? Like data. So what kind of data you can provide? It can be anything else. It can be fail on status code. It can be form, and etc. So, okay, it extends and goes, and you can see all those things in here. Okay. For us now, it will be only required to have these things. However, I can run this code, but there is no, I mean, we are tester, right? We are testing something, and it is important to have some validations in here so that we're supposed to do. That's actually the important part, that we need to know what kind of things we can validate for this API. And the Playwright actually provides very good opportunities for us to do some assertions, okay, in here. If I go to this get request, you can see that for common assertions, I stored some of them. These common assertions actually separated into the two parts. One, which you can get from the response directly. And the second thing, we can get from the response body, okay? There are two separate verifications in here and validations. So we have a response, okay, which we can directly get from the response, or we can have from the response body. Let's take a look at what is the separation from that. First thing is response. Once I say response, I can get the status code. I can say that response status to be 200. It means that if my status code is 200, my test will be executed fine, okay? And it will pass. Or you can do actually similar to this one. you can say response okay, to be truthy. This is actually a little bit tricky for that. Like okay means is in API terminology, okay means is between 200 to 299 is okay, correct? Those status code is the success status codes. 200 to 299. So that's why it's basically includes everything in between 200 to 299. So it understands that one as a truthy. Or you can go to your response body. You can get length of your response body, like whatever the lengths that you have. Or you can get first name from your response. You can just check that first name to be Josh. Or you can match actually all your requests for post requests in here. And or you can check like some properties, response body to have a property first name or something. So those are some of the verifications that you can do. And response body, let's say timing, also it provides you the good opportunity to do some performance testing for your APIs. You can check that, hey, this is less than like 1,000 milliseconds, so you can put it. Or you can get the headers, like as you see headers, timing, okay, status, all of them are coming from the response. But first name, last name, ID, and etc., those kind of things are coming from the response body. So it will be better to understand this separation. And also I recommend you to maybe like, I can take a screenshot and send it to you, but you can also take a screenshot because this is the important one in here that we are going to be having. And most of the verifications, we are going to be using those things, okay, for here. Let's actually use some of them. I want to check my status code for this API. It is 200. I can just go to my code. I can say that expect, okay, this is your assertion. Response, okay, dot status, okay, response status. And we are going to be saying that to be, so to be basically verifying that it is exactly equals to value that you provided in here. I'm just checking that expect my response status to be 200, okay, for that. And how can we execute this code, right? So for this, if you want to execute, you just need to, actually, if you want to execute only this one, there are a couple ways to execute. You can just say that only, it will be only executing this, or you can just type the class name and to be able to execute. If we actually go top, you can see npx playwright test is our command to be able to execute npx playwright test. But if I say this npx playwright test, it will execute everything under this test. So what I have one get, which I created. I have one example, which is also coming by default from the playwright itself. And that's why I don't want to execute the second one. I can just type the name of the class. It will be get spec.js, okay? Get spec.js, and I can execute this class. Okay, running 3 tests using 3 workers. So why it says 3 tests? Maybe it is running all of them, even though I put the name. Get spec JS. Let's delete those. I think we don't need. Delete multi-trash. Delete this as well. Multi-trash.
Can we provide a path?
Paths, I think you can provide it. I didn't try it, but you can provide. Let's see. Let me run one more time. It still says that show the report. Oops. sorry. Playwright. Good. The thing is, it says 3 because so it is, even though we said, okay, this is for API, it's using the different browsers, okay, so which is not required for API, right? It is using all the browsers to execute those. We need to just go to this Playwright config file. In Playwright config file, you can see Chrome, Firefox, WebKit, and etc. I think we don't need this. I can just use the Chrome. It is fine, okay, for execution. Let's Control Command C. I can execute one more time. You see, it passed, and I can see one test is running, one worker, and it is passed now. I can see in here, right? So to open the last HTML report, you can run this command. So it will be also, you can see in there as well. The good thing is, yes, I can see it is passed, but how can I make sure that my code is really working and it is really testing? It was actually an interview question previously, which I asked. What do you think, like, how can I make sure that my code is working without an issue? Okay. No answer, no one knows.
Maybe we need JSON format.
No. So as it is, okay, I am testing, I'm saying that, okay, this is 200, but how can I make sure that my, oh, it says it is passed. But how can I, actually, let's do this one quickly, and let's run it. As you see, I don't have anything. It says passed. Correct? I commented these 2 lines of code. I run the code one more time. It says passed. And I'm running one more time, and it says passed. How can I make sure the code is really testing something? We need to fail this test, right? Exactly. Not to be, or I can say that it is, let's say, 400, correct? And what is the status code that I'm getting once I sent this request? It is 200, correct? If I say that to be 400, it should fail, right? So in this case, I can make sure that, hey, this is working and without a problem, so it's running. Let's run the code. As you see, it is failed. It says that expected 400, which I put it in here, but received 200. It means that my code is working without an issue, without a problem. Okay, so that's the actually how can we make sure that it is really testing something and it is working without a problem. This is one thing. And constant response request get. Okay, so let's actually get in here. I want to see like what do we have and how we can basically see all these volumes. And because I am sending this request for user 2, and for user 2 I have some information, so some data, right? Maybe for that I can say, like, if you want to just print it, okay, in here, print something, you just need to use console.log and it will be printing. And it is not for testing, but just only for us to see and visualize what is our response, and am I able to get the relay response, and how can I see that response? For that, I can say response, okay, we already get it in here. Await response, please use await as much as possible once you call some methods. Use this await, otherwise you might get an error. Response dot maybe text, okay? I want to get this response, whatever we have, as a JSON format. and I want to print that, okay, just to see that information's in here. So once we write that, I can just execute my code, look at here. So this time I am able to print it, my response in text format. You can, I think you can even say JSON as well. Let's run it. Yeah, so I can even say JSON. So I'm able to print my response in JSON format. Look at in here, ID 2, name is Aaron, username, something else, email, and Melissa TV, address, and etc. Now, okay, from here, so we are able to get this JSON, and I validated 200 such code, but I want to also validate some other information. Maybe I want to validate the name. Name is equals to Erwin Howell. How can I do that? How can I assert the response once I get it, right? So good part, you do need to use, let's say project classes or something in here. You don't need to do that, right? It's easily, you will be able to get your response and verify it, okay? Verify your data. And how can we do that? Look at, so first of all, I'm supposed to have a response body, and I will get this response body as a JSON format. If you get that as a JSON format, your attribute, okay, it can be anything else, like first name, last name, length, it will give you the, if you have an array, it will give you the length for this arrays. And you can basically get whatever you want from this JSON. But first of all, in here, I'm gonna be storing my response body. I can say response body equals to await response JSON, okay? Now, should we print it? Okay, anyway, we printed. I think we don't need to print one more time, so we are able to see. I have a response body. So this is how I can store my response body. I am saying that await response, which you get it from here, and store them as a JSON file, and then it will be response body. From this response body, now we will be using the JSON path, okay? JSON path. How can I use my JSON path? What is that? I have a response body, it's my initial path, and it is my JSON object in here. From this JSON object, I can go to path. What's the path for name? I just need to say that response body dot, maybe I can show you as an example in here. Name path will be equals to response body dot name. Why? Because if you take a look at our JSON, name is directly inside our JSON, right? It's in here. And directly so directly under this JSON, that's why I will say that response body dot name, it will be giving me Erwin Howell, okay? And I have a response body and I store them as a JSON. So now, guys, what do you think? How can I get this latitude? What should be my path for that? So first of all, it will be response body. Then what will be the path to get this latitude from this JSON response?
Maybe curly braces,
No, there is no curly brace.
indexing them. First of all, we need to get inside the first object, and inside the first object, we have
Okay, yes, exactly. What is first object?
the first
This object, what is the first object to go to latitude?
The starting point of curly brace.
So we have is it name or is it username? Which one?
It starts from ID.
But ID is separate, right? ID only gives you these two. Name is also gives you the two. So sorry, name gives you the Erwin Howell. For latitude, we are having an address, right? Address is our first thing in here. And I will say address. Then address itself is one of the object, right? Once we see curly braces, every curly brace is one object. Address is one of the object. And inside the address, if I want to go to latitude, do I need to go street, suite, city,
No.
zip code, or geo?
You can do dot geo, maybe, or
Dot
lat.
geo dot
lat.
lat, right? So this is how it works. If I want to get street, I need to say address dot street. If I want to get phone, look at phone and address all are on the same level, right? Address and phone are the same level. That's why I can say response body dot phone. So this is how I can get these paths. So for assertion, I'm gonna be saying that expect response body dot, let's say name, okay, response body dot name. So now from here, what you want to check, like to be, closed, disabled, empty, and etc. So right, response first name to be Josh. So in our case, response body dot name to be Erwin Howell. Okay, let's do the for latitude. I'm gonna be saying that expect response body dot,
Geo.
what was that?
Yeah.
Address dot geo dot latitude to be whatever the value in your acceptance criteria, what it's supposed to be. So in our case, let's say 43.9590, it will be our latitude for these verifications. Mostly those will be some verifications for GET request. Maybe even though these semicolons are not required, let's put it. We can verify, let's do this. Catch phrase, okay, this attribute, not the value, okay? I'm not looking to the value. I'm looking to catch phrase is available, okay? This attribute is available for me. For that, we have a property, right? To have a property, I can say that response body to have a property, whatever the property name that you are looking for, so we can just check it in there. Okay, let's go to there. Expect response body to have a property. Yes.
Company dot catch phrase.
And for this one, to have a property.
Or we can provide directly the catchphrase.
Good. Let's try it. Let's try just only catchphrase. Catchphrase. Okay. And okay, response body to have a property catchphrase. And I think maybe we can do this one. Response body dot company. Okay, to have a property catchphrase. Let's execute this code now. Yep, it passed. So let's try, let's make sure that it is working correctly or not. Catch PH. Execute. It is failed. It says that expected is received empty, there's nothing. Expected is catch PH. Okay, so it's not working. It is basically failed on this step. So that we have. And let's run it one more time. Okay, it is passed. It means that my code is working. So you can actually check it for others as well. So pretty much for one API, we covered most of the things that you can verify. So you verify status code, we check it. Like this is actually must things for API testing, verifying the status code, whatever you are getting. And then we verify response body. So whatever the data that you have in your response body, we check that, okay, name is equals to Erwin Howell. Geographical location, it is TWE is this volume. And or one of the property, I just wanted to check, maybe company created one API, actually updated existing API, they put new property that you want to verify this property. Okay, or maybe there are some conditions. If you have this data, then you will be having this property. So then in this case, you can verify your property is exist or not in this case. Okay, so then we have this status code to be 200, all those things. It is basically everything is implemented in there. And so it's simply so you can execute your code and so fast. So execution is so fast in this example. So then any question for this GET request?
Yeah, I have a question. So let's say we have like 50 test cases with GET and other like requests. How can we run all of them and we will have a report generated saying this test failed, this test passed?
For that, where is my terminal? Okay, anyway, let's. For that, you just need to run this one. You just need to say, let's say you have 50 test cases, right? Under the tests, everything is under here. You just need to say npx playwright test without providing this class name, okay? It will execute all of them. Whatever you have under this test, it will be executing all of them and reports every time good part in here in Playwright. It's automatically generating this report for you. If it has failed, it will show. If it's passed, it will show as well. So you don't need to do any additional things. Just run this command, npx playwright test, so it will be fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's do now one post request. I think so for today's session, it will be taking.
I have one question, David.
Sure.
In case if I want to add some, custom message to the report, how can I do that?
Custom message to the report.
Yes.
So actually this test, whatever you have in API, but where you want to do, like if it is failed, you want to add the custom message to the report?
For suppose now I have the request response body. I just want to print whole response body as part of my, report as well. Not if I use console.log, it will be only added into the terminal. But in case if I want to see that complete body inside of my report so that I can see all the details at the report level. So whether I can do that in the Playwright?
So I don't know how to customize, to be honest. I don't know how to customize a report in Playwright. It should be possible, but we need to search.
Okay.
If we go to the Playwright report, if we click on one of like it will open in Chrome, I think it will step-by-step shows. It should probably.
It shows, but let's say if in case it fails, let's say you have a company, like it is displayed, sorry, maybe you have a location. Let's check it this one, right? And then I have it. Let's do 44. So in this case, it will fail, right? We know because the data is different. So she's saying that like, how can I, and if this is failed, I want to add, basically all the body, because it shows only for me to what is the differences. It doesn't show the response like for whole the response, and she want to add all the response. But I don't know how to customize. If it should be possible, but I don't know how to do that.
Try running it with the console.log. My reports, when I run Playwright, tend to actually leave a standard output at the bottom.
So, okay. So you mean what? NPX?
Like, no, just do a console.log of like what you were doing of response.json. Just do that as a console log.
Okay.
Run it and then look at the report. I believe there's a standard output at the bottom that's got like a little arrow that you can expand.
So, okay, so it will be just only console.log, and so you'll be just providing the response body in here, right?
Yeah, just put a console.log in there and log the
Okay.
response body and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that you previously did, I think.
Okay, makes sense. And so now let's do the one post request. I think I'm gonna be saying that new folder. It will be post request. Okay, for this one. Initially for post request, I will show you just, inside the same classes. Maybe after that, we can create one data class and we can get from the data class, okay, our data. Because definitely we don't want to store our data into our all the time the files. For that, for post request, okay, I'm just gonna be creating one folder and post request folder. And it will be under this one, I'm gonna be saying that new file. So let's say post.spec.js in this case. So initial step, as I mentioned, these two things, test and expect, we need to import inside that. Actually, maybe I can just copy paste from here in my previous class and pass to here. Just change it into the post API testing with Playwright, test, expect, everything is same. I'm gonna be closing this curly brace and I'm gonna be closing this parenthesis. Curly brace, it comes from here. Parenthesis, it comes from your test. So then that's it. Okay, for our initial step. So then I'm gonna be saying that constant response equals to await. Do not forget this await. And I'm gonna be saying that request. As you see, that's why request is all the time is there. But this time, instead of the get, and as you see, we have other methods as well, delete method, fetch, get, head, patch, post, put, and I will be saying that post, okay, for that. And for post request, you can also check like what kind of parameters we can enter. First of all, we need to provide our URL. And we have an options, we have a data. So this is the actual data that we need to provide. That's important part, right? For the post request to be able to provide in here. Oops. So data, I will be providing my data, failed on status, form, headers, so you can provide form data, parameters, undefined, and etc. So we can basically provide multiple things and whatever you want to do in here. So we can provide in this between the parentheses. First thing is our URL, and I can get my URL. Let's close this one. I can get my URL from the Postman. Post request. Okay, URL is very simple. We have a just initial value and our base path, and then I have post at the end for this request. So then after that, if you go to body, okay, in here, so we can see like we can actually send multiple requests, 1, 2, and etc. Let's send this request. My status code is 201 for this post request. And my response is, let's say what I have. My first body, I think this one, it has my first body, it has this executed. It says it is 0. And my second body, user ID 10, ID 60, So I can see it is other request, and we have an ID. It is 101. It is our ID for that. 0, 1, and all of them is executed. Whatever I sent in my body, I can also see as a response body from this post request as well. I can see it is created. It's showing me some data, and then I can verify what you want to verify. You can verify. Normally, this process is connected with each other. So we do usually end-to-end testing. So we get token, we send post request, we create the data, and then we get request, and then verify this get request, right? So make sure that this data is created. But in here, I will be verifying from here because this API, so since it is public, so they don't want to create basically the data again and again. That's why whatever ID we cannot use for this get requests that is created. And for that, let's copy this. I can also send it to you guys at the same time. I will be sending posts is our URL in here. Oops. And white and posts. It's there. And I will be copying and pasting this URL in here. Posts. Actually, if we remember, in the beginning, I was mentioning that this URL, specifically for base URL, you don't need to provide inside your this test classes. You can, instead of providing here, okay, because let's say now under the two classes, I use the same base path, right? If this base path is changing, sometimes they add some additional things into your URL. And what will happen? I need to go all the classes, like you mentioned, maybe you have 50 test cases, all of them are using the same base URL, and you don't want to basically go and 50 location and then change it, right, from 50 different places. That's why we have a base URL place. So we can, under the config, okay, Playwright config, I can put this base URL into there as well. Playwright config. If you go a little bit top, under the use, okay, you start from the top, and I can come to here, and I can go to my use, look at base URL to use in actions. But the good, maybe bad, if you are working with different domains at the same time, even under some companies, they have different projects that have different domains. So it will be one URL, okay? So you need to configure that and you need to update it. So in here as base URL, you can just copy and pass to URL JSON placeholder, okay, dot IP code and .com. So it will be your base URL, and it will be automatically coming from your base URL automatically will come from your config file. I can delete this part. Okay, I'm gonna be deleting that part. Now I have only /post. That's it. That's my URL that I have. Where is the base? It comes from the config file, and the rest of the value and basically my endpoint, it is coming from here. I just put it by myself, okay, for this endpoint. That's it. This is the one thing. Now the second part, okay, for second part, we need to provide the data. And we need to have a body in our body, and inside our body, we can basically put our we can send this post request. So for that, okay, for body, let's in the beginning, I can show you how can we get it from here. Okay, I will just store it, and I will say, let's do this. What is the API name? It is, let's do this, placeholder body. I will say placeholder body. This placeholder body, we are just gonna be getting from here. Maybe 2 data, it will be a lot. I'm gonna be just only providing 1 data, okay? Let's see, this is just for only practice. I'm gonna be sending this request. Look at, I sent user ID 8, ID 55, title, let's say post created by Nicola, body. This is the first post request on fake API server JSON placeholder. Now, in my response, once I send it, I can see my data, which is created. ID, as you see, it is changed. It was 55 in here, but by default, all the IDs are coming with 101. So what else? Okay, rest of the data, it is same, so it's not changing. And my status code, it is 201. I will copy this body, okay? I will copy that and pass into the here. Constant placeholder body, and because I'm not gonna be updating this one in other places. Now, how can I pass this body? Like passing this body, I show it to you in the beginning, right? So we had a URL and I put, so now I have a data. For data, it will be inside the, as you see, it will be inside the curly braces. I need to provide this data. And what kind of data I can provide? I can provide anything, any data I can provide. But it will be, for our case, in our case, data, it will be in JSON format. And that's why I can maybe put some comma and say, open curly braces and close it. Data, it will be placeholder body. Maybe just to make it clear. Okay. So in here, which one will be better? So maybe putting on the same line. Let's put on the same line. It will be maybe better in this case. So I have a post, right? This request, this is post request. And then I put my endpoint, my base URL is coming from the config file. I have a curly braces, open curly braces, and data, I am saying that this for post request, this is my data I want to put, and placeholder body, it comes from here and then pass into your body. Now, let's verify our status code. Okay, status code, it will be expect, and then I will say response dot status to be 201. This time it is 201, right? So we have. So which we verified. I can say for this, let's run it. Let's run this code. And let's close. Okay, so in here, my status code, and to be able to run this class, I will say so let's do actually this one. npx playwright test. Instead of get, I will say post.spec.js, and it will be running this class. So execution is so fast. So as you see, it is passed and 1. Let's check it. 200, it should fail. Let's run the code one more time. Now it is failed. I can see in my response. And good side for Playwright, the report is automatically generated. So you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to have any other additional dependency and etc. So it's already there. And so you can use it. I'm going to be closing that and saying one more time 201 and verify. So in previous case, guys, in previous verification, so that's actually it. This is how we created. And I don't want to get my, like now I have how many data? I have only what? I have only 4 lines of data in here, right? It's my JSON, but it can be more than that. It can be a lot. So how can I basically get, like, I want to get this data not inside my test class, but I want to get it from some different classes, correct? Because we don't keep our data inside this test classes. For that, maybe I can create some JSON files, right, in somewhere else, and I can say under the test, I can say data, and under data, let's say new file, and place folder body.json, because my data format is JSON, right? And I want to get my data not inside the same test class, but somewhere else in different file. For that, that's why my extension, it is not GS, right? My extension is in here for this file, it is JSON, because this is the JSON file. And I want to get my data from here. For that, maybe I can copy this one, Control C, and maybe we can comment out this line. And I created one new folder and then say that data. And inside this data, I created one JSON file, which is placeholder body.json, JSON file. I put my data in here, okay? Everything it's in here. So once we come, now placeholder body, this code, it will not work, right? Because I didn't get my JSON body inside this file. That's why if I run it, it will say that, okay, there is no data. Placeholder body is not defined. Look at, I don't have any placeholder body. So for that, whatever you created JSON body, okay, this body, you need to import inside this class, okay? So you need to import it in here. So it will be like to import, you just need to say the required. I'm gonna be saying that constant placeholder body equals to require. So require, I wanna put like some, basically where I am now, where is my location for this folder? It is under the post, post request. And I need to go one up to be able to get the file path for this data. And I can say maybe data slash placeholder JSON. Okay. So I said it's my current location. It goes one up. It will be under the test. And I will be under the test. I am opening the data folder, which is my data folder. And under the data folder, I am opening my JSON body placeholder. I'm opening this folder, okay? So now it means that I am able to use my placeholder body inside here. So this one, as you see, if I double click on top of that, it comes from here. So it should be able to get and pass my data. Let's execute this code. You see, it is passed. And this time we get so I can even delete this line. You see, my data, it comes from this placeholder body. Maybe I can send it to you guys, this body as well. So now you see, like my test class, it is very clear. I don't have test data. I don't have so complex things. It is like I all the time tell the people, if you have a complex code, if you have so like mixing up everything, it means that you are doing something wrong. So it's supposed to be as much as clear, simple, and everyone once they like at least like if they know something and then they can take a look at it and then understand. For this data, let's update it. Let's update, and then we are gonna be finishing, guys, in a couple of minutes. I wanna put 2 data, okay? So I will say that User ID, let's change 11. I mean, this is not important. Let's do 100 by David, body. This is new API post request. Okay. So I have my first data, I have my second data, and then I have everything in here. So what I am going to be doing, let's run the code. So now I updated my code, right? I updated my body from here, and it will be automatically updated in there. Let's run the code one more time. And it is passed. So now this is also passed. So actually why I put the more data, because like in our previous example, we verify, right? First name, last name, geographical locations, and etc. Company, like these properties has it or not. And in here, like I don't want to keep basically go and each of them and execute this data and then check it. Okay, this is works or not, and etc. I don't want to like do the each of them. I want to actually verify this is really it is in my response body or not. Look at it. Because once I send this request, my response for this post request, it's also returning the same thing, right? I want to verify this is what I have, and I want to verify everything in here. I don't want to deal with like step by step for all the data. For that, look at our assertion. Expect new post, okay, whatever the post that we created, which is our response, to match with object, our JSON object. Okay, I'm going to be using that one. Let's do first 201, and I can say expect response to was that to match expect response to match object placeholder body. Okay, whatever the placeholder body, once we create this post request, whatever the placeholder body, it should match with my response. Okay, because response is also returning the same thing. That's why instead of dealing with like step by step every single line, and I'm verifying everything in one shot. Okay, so let's run the code. Okay, it said it is failed. Look at expected body. This is the first post request. Headers, name, date, value, content. Oops, sorry. Yes, so we need to get a response dot JSON, correct? And then we need to say await. Or maybe we can actually do this one. Constant response body equals to await response JSON. Response body. Let's execute the code one more time.
It doesn't have David inside the response. That's why.
It has, but it is failed because we don't have these zeros, right? It's basically returns this 0 and etc. It's not returning exactly the same thing because when I send this body, I don't have a 0 and etc. Okay, 1 second. Let me show it to you in Postman. That's
Yeah.
why I think it will not work with everything.
Okay.
Okay, this is my body for post request, and I have a data. Once I sent this one, it is adding 0, 1 ID, right? Which I don't have an ID in this at the end. I have an ID in inside, but I don't have this ID. That's why it is failed. But if it is same, okay, if it is returning the both of them are the same thing, this one will be better. Like if you want to compare whole data, so you can use to match with objects, so it will be automatically matching with this object that you have. Okay, it will be great. But in this case, then we can do expect response body dot okay, response body dot, let's do what we can get it. We have let's get this ID, response body ID equals to 101. Okay, response body ID to be 101. Okay, let's execute this code. Okay, it is passed, so we can have it in here. So I think we can finish. Any question, guys? Sorry, joined late. Will you be sharing recordings? Any question for these executions or anything for API get request or post request? I was planning to do actually for other requests as well, but it took more than what I expected.
It is clear. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When are we having next session for another requests?
Good question. I don't know. I need to check.
Also, will it be recorded and can we have
So
access?
this one is recorded, but I don't know how can I share with everyone. I will check it out. Like if I'm able to send the direct message to the registered people, I will try to send. But this is normally recorded. I will check it like in LinkedIn. If I am able to send the message to everyone, I will share the link for this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome. I see why not you doing. Yeah, you can do with Postman. I think for most of things, Postman has also automation. You can do that. You're welcome, guys. Thank you for attending. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.